Hey, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Another day and time. Conversations with Geoff. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Today's way of communicating is worldwide, internationally, right? So we're happy to be here today. And man, I had fun. I was like, man, I got hurt. Stop talking to our guests because I got to open the show, right? I mean, you wait. She's just an amazing person and human being, and really here to serve and deliver. Just a couple of things while we give people a couple of minutes to log in. Some housekeeping rules. We'd always like you to come in and tell us who you are, where you're coming from. And remember, if you're on Facebook, you got to put your name in there so we can see that. And as we go through the conversations with our guest today, make sure you show some love to her, and questions that may come up, drop them in the chat. That's how we communicate, right? That's how today's world is. This is one big virtual, semi-virtual world that we have today. So please make sure you do those things, and make sure also too that you share this and you subscribe to the channel. You get the message out there, right? Because our whole purpose, our whole mission is to empower, encourage, and inspire people to stop, become aware of the conversations that they're having with themselves, about themselves, and realize that they can make a difference instantly in changing the conversation that they're having. Hey, Jerry, how are you? Thanks for saying hi. That conversation that you're having, right? The things that we say, the chatter that goes on. We call it TV, transformational. We talked about it last week, transformational vocabulary. Getting that under, hey, Steph, getting that under control, being aware of the universal metaphors that we all use. I'm so stressed out, I can't take another moment, or whatever that is, or we're so caught up on the external noise that's going on, right? And I have to admit, I was in the grocery store last night, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I think it's relevant, so I'm gonna tell you. And it was a buddy of mine, he's in the produce, right? Great guy, I talk to him all the time, and he's in there, and he's like, man, I'm working all the time. I'm spending $100 a week now because gas is so much money, and it's $4 a gallon. And we talked for a minute. He said, well, people in California are paying $6 a gallon. And I said, it was a good thing you're in Houston, right? And he smiled, right? And he said, thank you. Thank you for helping me keep a perspective of what it is about. Be grateful for what I have right now. I mean, I'm able to work to spend $100 on gas. And this is the kind of guy that you walk by all the time and you don't pay attention to. But I took the time one day to say hi to him. And you know what? People go into the store to see him because he's one of those messengers, right? You never know who's going to deliver the message. So that's my other thing for you today. Do one more thing, one more smile before you go home. One more, hey, I love you to your spouse or partner. Do one more thing that you don't feel like doing, right? And that's my challenge to you. I got this message from one of my coaches, and he's got a book out now, do one more thing, and it's all about, and it came from, and I'm going to really get to this, but I want to share this. His father, who passed, called him one day from the hospital, and was a really powerful man, had a powerful voice, but cancer got the best to him, so his father's voice was a whisper. He says, come get me. Come get me. Right? And he did. He went and got his father out of the hospital, talked to the doctor, and got back home. And he said, I just wanted to have one more day with my wife before he passed. And he passed that day. Right? So check it out. Ed Merlot, One More, The Power of One More, powerful book. And so that's your challenge today. So thank you for letting me do that. And oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know me as a real estate investor, I'm known as kind of the king of rehab. That's my story. And my name is Geoff Tyson. But we've also moved into conversations with Geoff, right, where we can share empowering messages and bring guests like I'm getting ready to introduce you to on here that give you some things that you can take away today, some homework that you can take away today to put into your life to make a difference. All right. So just really quickly, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things, but she's a 30-year professional in aviation, been not all over the world, but most of the world, and lived abroad. And, her whole thing is about focusing on empowering relationships, open conversations, and life discussions. And she works with professionals, attorneys, fiduciaries. She's an author, her whole thing. And we're going to talk about what she does. as our discussion because she's a wonderful lady. Let me introduce to you my friend from California now, Lynn Lambert. Let me see if we can get her on here. All right, let's bring it up some joy. Clap, clap, clap. What's going on, Lynn? How are you?
Okay, so tell your buddy in Houston that I paid $5.65 yesterday per gallon to fill up.
Man, now
Yeah,
is that regular or premium?
Regular.
Oh, so you're 6.5 for premium, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not walking down that path these days. I'm a regular kind of gal.
All right, come on now.
Yeah, and that one more thing, you had me like crying.
Yeah.
So the beauty is when we can feel, we can smile and tear up simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that's where I was. I was back there going,
Me too. I heard it yesterday. I was like, oh man, I gotta use
thank
it.
you, Geoff, though, for sharing that because it's so true. Life is a gift.
It's truly a gift, and your story, your journey, you recognize that, and you help people have difficult conversations, at different times. So, we were backstage, and when we start the conversation with you with your life at 20, right? Let's go there, and then we'll back up if we have to. But man, it was powerful.
Okay, so you guys, Geoff and I can have these kind of conversations where we blah, 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 blah. And I think the beauty is we were talking about some of my work with the living planner, and I said that the seed was deposited in my 20s. I was a volunteer emergency team responder as an airline person. I was working in management, and I was called to and asked if I would consider becoming a volunteer emergency team responder, and my answer was yes. Now, I had no real comprehension at age 22 that I would actually be called into service at any particular time, because the job was to go on site if we had an airplane crash. And so I worked 2 crashes in my 20s. And that's when what Geoff and I were talking about in the backstage, because that truly was the seed. It was the seed of a humble reminder to me how precious life is. It was a seed to understand how we tend as humans, especially here in this country, to avoid the conversations about the what ifs.
Yeah. Come on.
But the horror, I think, that really kind of stuck with me is that there was really that gap of not understanding how to go about the next day's activities without having someone that you loved, that you counted on, to be there to do their thing. Because we tend to, separate out play to our strengths and, take life on as teams, but we have little roles within those teams, and we don't always know all the detail of what our loved one does.
Yeah.
And so that was my first aha. But my second aha came at my second crash, when everyone lived and I was called on site because there was a person my age who was burned badly and not able to open eyes and speak and write and all those things. And that side of addressing the fact that, shoot, I might not be fully functional at some point before I go, was like that big, because, I only thought about, living and dying, and we die when we're older. I mean, that's kind of the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And so seeing that in between space was what prompted me into my own personal action of saying, if I needed some, people to help me, what do I need to do to make sure that they have permission to do so in the official terms, but also the information they need to come and step in?
Yeah.
So I pretended I had an imaginary shadow that was following me. And that's, I'm the goofball, because I did all the proper legal documents, and I thought, well, this isn't all of it, because how does somebody get into where I live, and how does somebody know what I do, and how does somebody, if I needed them to pay bills, could they, and if I, blah blah blah. So my trail of breadcrumbs began in my 20s.
Wow.
And I called it creating my trail of breadcrumbs because I've lived in 17 places in 35 years around the world. And so how in the world could anybody step into my crazy life if I didn't create a roadmap, or my trail of breadcrumbs? So that's how we started the conversation.
Yeah, it was really just interesting to hear that. But then, you also talked in previous conversations, Lynn, about, the coming from a family of ostriches.
Well, and I love my family. I love them. And yet I will tell you that I'm pretty convinced that we have about 80-90% of the population that would much prefer not to talk about what I talk about.
Yeah.
And that is just kind of, we get to go to the beach, or even if we don't have beach, an imaginary beach, and we put our heads in the sand and we say, I'll deal with that if I have to, or I'll deal with that when I have to, or I'll deal with that, blah, 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 blah. But the humility I had on crash number 1 of realizing people weren't able to grieve at the time that they deserved to was what broke my heart, because it was too much of an emotional hit and a frantic not knowing what to do that really kind of drove me nuts. And I know that that's why the whole trail of breadcrumbs thing, or the step-in plans, or I come up with a gazillion different terms, the shadow. It's my way of just kind of saying, you know what, we can have help when we're living. And it's a way, because our society, I saw the gap. We have amazing, wonderful professionals who all can help us, but they talk their lingo, they talk their way. And I didn't see who was threading things across all aspects of life. And so that's where I decided I would come in and play.
Yes. Yeah. You broke it down in the layman's terms, right? And where most of us.
Layman, I mean, it's so funny, but I mean, working in business for a long time, I understand a lot of the business terms, but don't use all the fancy talk with me when it comes down to what do I need to do now and why do I need to do it? And don't give me all the blah, 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 that fits and is suitable if you're buying a protection policy, or if you're doing a financial plan, or if you're talking to an attorney, or, all these wonderful accounts. I mean, everybody's got a niche, which is extraordinary, and we need that. But tell me what the impact is to me.
That's right.
And that's something that I learned. Finally, my ostrich dad determined when I was going to be leaving the country for the first time that it would be okay for me to come home and help he and mom update things. And it was pretty funny because I went along. I was like their little mascot into offices. And I say, no, this is what it means, Dad. What it means, Dad. And when we got to the attorney's office, I said, I'll just sit outside. No, come in. Because again, the terms, when we play in certain arenas, we can understand certain terms, but we also might not really know how it applies. So it's just important to know that there's an administrative side in our lives that nobody really teaches us. And dang it, it's hard when we are learning on the fly, because that's a time that we're really not as all together to be able to handle it. So I just think it's really kind of cool to have some advanced prep.
No, I get it. When you say learning on the fly, and I hear, learning on the fly and going through emotional
horrible distress,
or loss of job, or family member, all that stuff on top of it, and you have the personality though to help people get comfortable. What do you tell people, Lynn, that are in that space now? What can you tell them that may not know how to navigate where they are right now? What can you leave with the breadcrumbs and all that? What can you leave with them?
It's interesting because I tend to also, I'm going to give a story of some friends of mine who they were very apprehensive about doing anything. And they had a superstition that if they did actually take action and button some things up, that something bad might happen. And so when that was given to me as a, oh my God, if we do this and something happens, and I said, oh, I am powerful, but I am not that powerful. And I think that honestly, it's just to take a deep breath and recognize that it's okay to feel the woogies.
Yeah.
Because I think even when we don't admit that we're feeling the woogies, they operate like a little quiet operating system in the back of our brains.
Yes.
Because we kind of are like, I don't want to talk about, I don't want, but I've also realized that, okay, so let's feel the woogies, but your situation is unique. Yes. Every situation is unique. Yeah. We all have different people in our families, or maybe have no one. Yeah. We may have assets that we have accumulated from a financial or a property side, but we may not. But so people often say, well, I don't have anything. I don't have an estate. Yeah. And my retort to that is, do you have a bank account? Yeah. And if the answer is yes, then okay, what happens to that account should something happen to you? Does someone have access to be able to pay your bills if you're still here? And can someone take care of things and close it out if you're not? Right. So I kind of start at a real baseline, but it depends on where we live, because each of our 50 states plus DC plus Puerto Rico have different laws. Yeah. And if you talk to my older brother and sister, they will tell you I was dropped by aliens, because I love researching the nuance of this stuff. And it's just important to have an understanding of the baseline of where your state of residence is. Right. Now, for all of you guys in the real estate side, Sir Geoff, and troops, you may have properties in multiple states. And if that comes into play, then there's a whole different strategy that we can use, and to get you ready to talk to your attorney to actually then protect you in the way that you need to be protected. Yeah. Because, we talk about things like probate, and people hear the word and they're like, okay, I don't really know what this means, but it sounds kind of icky. What does it really mean? And it just means that if you haven't written formally in some type of a legal document how things are supposed to go, you get to write your decisions. Right. And if you haven't done that, then the court's going to intervene and say, okay, where's the stuff supposed to go? Right. Well, either you're going to decide or the court's going to decide, and I'd much rather you be empowered to decide.
Yes, yeah. It's doing it ahead of time, doing it when it's uncomfortable, like you're talking about. Dr. Pam says 2 minds changing lives here. Nice to see you, Dr. Pam. Thanks for showing up and supporting us. So yeah, it's all about, and I'm guilty of it, right? I'm in that phase where I should have my stuff together. My wife and I talk about it.
Yeah, but give yourself some grace and space. I mean, we all do it when we do it. I mean, yes, I saw extreme, and that helped me do it. So I grumble every time I update, because I think, it's like doing my taxes every year. I grumble when I do that too, but I do it. So this is something that I wish I could say it was once and done and poof, magic wand. But state and national laws change. Your situation changes. I mean, you could move. You might add family members, delete family members. You may add jobs or delete jobs, and add things or delete. But this is the beauty of knowing that what you decide and when you decide it, you can change your mind. Yeah. And we often don't think about that either, because times change and you change. We all change. And so that's like the beauty, even though there's a grumble factor, there's a beauty in knowing that that is available to you.
So I hear you saying that, it's not a one and done thing, and really kind of connecting with someone like you that can be, hey, on that list of annual review things, hey, let's get Lynn in here and we change it.
And it doesn't have to be annual either, because I don't want you to throw up. I mean, at the end of the day, look at the bigger triggers.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the bigger triggers. Cause I mean, I updated my trust last year and
Mhm.
worked with my estate planning attorney to do so. And, you know, I'm getting older too. And it was like, okay, let's really talk about the Alzheimer's thing because I want to make it. My dad had that and it, you know, can run in the family. And I said, so let's play out the what if scenarios. Am I fully covered? You
Right.
know, did somebody have the way that they could like really do what they need to do? And so having that conversation, honestly, in some ways is really empowering.
Yeah.
But it's also living a really good life. We can live a really good death.
Wow.
And that to me,
Wow.
because we're the ones that are saying, I don't know when my time is. But what I'm doing is I'm preparing for whatever, whenever, so that I'm leaving on a good on good terms.
Yeah, I was just writing that down. Living a really good life, we can have a really good death. You know, and first image I had in my mind was the family members that are like,
Yeah.
what do I do now? I'm looking at you know, what's next? You know, and having prepared, right? And so this message is so powerful, you know, for folks that are on this now. You know, that you take the time to. Lynn's information is going to be in the chat. She's going to take some time and let you know how you can get in touch with her. But
And the crazy part about all you business owners, same for you,
yeah,
because at the end of the day, we have life and business intersect.
yes,
And it is applied for me when I'm leading teams and team members are all of a sudden faced with a very critical illness or have an accident. I mean, how are we caring for our people
yeah,
also and our processes and what we're doing at work? There are times when we're operating solo, and when we're operating solo, okay, who's my backup team? So if I'm not here tomorrow,
yeah,
how are you guys all informed? You
yeah.
know, what's my process for that? So I'm like the geek that we have tornadoes and we have hurricanes and we have fires and we have earthquakes. This is about living, kids.
Yeah.
And if something impacts us in our place of business, okay, if we needed to start over tomorrow, could we? Do we have access to our insurance documents? Do we have access to our customer data? Do we have access to our IT stuff? So I'm very multifunctional on this side. It's about us and families, but it's also about us and what we do, because at the end of the day, we need to have a little cash flow to carry on life.
Yeah.
If that is disrupted, then what?
Right. Right. So do people call you after they've been through all of that and then need help? You know, how do you have it do you have to serve help people at the end of it? You know, tell
I
me.
try to get people on the front end, and that is, I think, maybe because I did work the two crashes in my 20s and I worked 9/11 in my 40s.
Mm,
So I've seen so much of that. And with my family, I've been the reactive go-to. I tend to be the person that reserves that for my family,
okay.
the reactive time and space now.
Yeah.
I want to be the proactive cheerleader, because once we start at the age of 18, we are legal adults, and that's when this whole journey begins. So whether it is the mentoring of young kids that I do and working with them,
Mm,
or working with a younger family to make sure that we're protected, or working with small business owners,
yeah.
or like with new employees that are not understanding the employee onboarding process. I mean, I play a lot in the sandwich generation
Yeah.
because we tend to have parents and we have kids. And
Right.
then what? Then what? Holy smokes. I'm in it like I'm the sandwich. I'm the meat. The bread's coming on both sides and there's not any mustard. So we got to have a little mustard on there to make
Gotta
sure
put
we're
some
okay.
flavor. Yeah, get some flavor in that sandwich, girl. Right? Wow. So what about the kids? You know, you mentioned I've heard you mention that before. What do you do for the
The
kids?
young adults.
Yeah, the young adults. Yeah.
Okay, one of the most exciting things ever was when I was 17 and I knew I was going to college out of state. I had saved my money, I was paying for school myself, It was something that I was going to liberate myself and kind of have my little first taste of independence and blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
And, it's funny because I went to school out of state, and I turned 18 in November. I went home for Christmas to my family for Christmas. I came back at the beginning of the next year,
Mm,
and I got strep throat. And
mm.
I went into the health center, and I had made sure that they knew I was allergic to penicillin. Well, they didn't see that when I got there, and they shot me up with penicillin.
Ooh.
Well, I passed out. I was in an ice bath. I woke up with 105-degree fever and a bunch of people fluttering over me,
Yeah.
to which I said, "Did you call my mom and dad?" "No, we don't have permission to do that." Okay. Now this was in the 70s. So it was before the privacy that we have today.
Yeah.
So when we do turn 18, there are certain things that we get to start doing that allow people to be contacted about us
Yes.
if something happens to us. And that's where I kind of start with the kids,
Okay.
because the HIPAA information is private and protected and it's not to be shared, but we can give permissions.
Yes.
But the other part is, who's your in case of emergency contact? Well, when we're growing up, we know who those people are.
Right.
But when we're an adult ourselves, who do we choose?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really important to do. And then, of course, I'm like the one with, I'm a high tech, high touch kind of gal. So I want to make sure that they know about the apps on Android and on an iPhone that can display on a locked phone if the EMTs are coming in.
Uh-oh.
And stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm kind of geeky that way. But then there's also, I want to start talking a little bit about a power of attorney, which is a legal document
Yep.
that allows you, when you're living, to have someone, if you're unable to be fully functioning and speaking, to act as you, so they can pay your bills, and they can help you make the medical decisions that might need to be made.
Yeah.
So it's important. Those are like the basics.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And you think about it, how many of us that have kids that are ill-equipped even today if something was to happen?
It's normal because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that's the part where I just kind of shine a little light in all those awful dark places, just to make sure that you know that there's light.
Yeah. Wow. You do shine some light, bright light.
I try. It's scary, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, baby steps are very important. And it's the old adage of, how do we eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah, that's right. And it may choke you a little bit, might be a little rough to swallow.
Spit it out.
Spit it out and take another bite.
A littler bite.
A littler
bite.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Sprinkle a little joy, salt and pepper around it, so create that imagination that allows you to digest it, right? So, man, this is really good. I'm looking here because I had something else I wanted to make sure that let's talk about this, because you already hit on it. But finding the positives and preparing for life's curveballs. We talked on that, but
Okay, so I am just a believer that life is a gift every day, and I am so appreciative to be here. And I know that curveballs happen, and I maybe have seen different versions, but I think we've all seen a version or two. And in those versions, they can stop us or they can propel us. And I've elected every day to allow that to propel me. And I think that what it opens up for me is to know that I have an opportunity. And I have an opportunity to see good and to be good and to do good. But I also have the opportunity to fall on my face and find my inner strength of resilience to pick myself back up.
yes.
And even if it's a day of having a pity party, I have them.
Yeah.
But then it's the acknowledgement of, do I want to dwell in this pity party, or do I want to actually say, wow, this is going to be a great day?
Come on. Yeah. Yeah. And we all have that choice, don't we?
We do. I remember being really young with my mom saying, where did you come from? And I said, attitude is a choice. And I was like 12.
Sound like my granddaughter at 12. She'll be 12 in 2 days or 26.
Happy birthday. Is
Yeah.
that the little one that I saw in the park?
I think so. There's 3 of them. I think it was Michaela. I don't remember. Yeah, you would.
Happy birthday, Michaela.
Yeah, yeah. You joined us by phone as we hung out at the Moody Gardens in Galveston. That was fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, yeah. So listen, how do you have a book? We were talking about your book.
I do, and when we were talking, I made myself promise. It's called The Living Planner.
The Living Planner.
What to prepare now while you were living. Yeah. And I talk. It's in like 3 little main sections of a pre-planning, what to do, and kind of understanding some of that terminology and the words and the processes. But then it's at a loss, because you know what, there are very specific things that are required, really needed. Number 1 is to take care of yourself, but number 2 is to get a few death certificates and then get into the rest of it, because it's family time. But then number 3 is ongoing follow-up. And that's the part I learned through experience with my own parents, because there's a whole list of things and places and people we need to contact to close things out. And that, there are many people, like the attorney might mention that too, but it's just kind of nice to have a sheet. And so I kind of just talk about stuff so you can fill it in. But it's also like the documents that we take for granted every day that we're processing, where are those located so others can find them? So it's just, and then I have these little appendices in the back with starting a list of contacts and your overall like general health information, and the document list, and then like the contact list. Yeah. So I sell that on my website.
Yes.
I'm not sure now, Geoff, can I add comments to the chat in here or no?
Yeah. Well, I think so. You're asking kind of the wrong guy, but try it out. I mean,
because I can see the private chat, and I can do that.
Do you see the information we have in there on you now?
And I put that in the private chat, but that's sharing with you in the studio, but I don't know how to put it into the comments part. So you guys, my website is thelivingplanner.com. And under the offerings, you'll find my book and you'll find other information. I also have it on a new site that I've created because I'm compiling information into an online platform, so that if I have an accident or something happens, people can go more to one spot. And that is https://courses.thelivingplanner.com. And if anybody just wants to reach out, Lynn at LYNN at thelivingplanner.com is the place to find me.
And I'll tell you, she will reach out to you, and she is who you see her as right now. So please don't hesitate to take her up on the offer. It's not a conversation that we like to have, but it's a conversation that we need to have.
Well, and we will make it a little fun too. I mean, that's the one thing I will promise you. I will take things utterly seriously, yes. But I have found, as a part of, maybe it's my gallows humor, but I do find a way to lighten it up, is for me to find ways to have a laugh. And even when it's the dark, again, I mean, if we're going to shine light into the dark places, sometimes that means putting on a little hard hat with a little light. And I say, come out wherever you are from the hidey holes of whatever I'm trying to avoid. So I do little things for myself just to keep me out of my wooginess. And I'll be very respectful of you and where you are, but we have different ways that we can play.
Yeah, and you do that so freely and so easy. It's just it's just amazing. I'm looking down here because I wanted to make sure, because day-to-day challenges, you talked about a lot of them, addressing that topic. Where people say what can you leave with us for those folks that are seeing their parents and they're like ill prepared completely, and just man, I just don't. I mean, I know I need to start.
It's hard. It's hard. And I'll tell you, I fell flat on my face a few times with my parents because my first approach was trying to use appeal to the parent appeal of, like working with helping their daughter of saying, okay, I'm going to be doing this for the first time. What kind of suggestions or advice do you have for me? Blank. It's like, oh, darn. But the other, it was really, we know our parents best. And sometimes they're going to react to avoiding or to skirting the issue, or as what I like to call it, I use the Chinese water torture. The drip, drip, drip of just a little question of planting a seed of, Dad, by chance, does Mom know where to find? And having Dad go, I don't know. Mom, by chance, do you know where Dad keeps it? No, and I don't want to. It was my mom. She was hilarious. I mean, so it's just, I mean, it's, your family best, your family well, but it's also the thing that ultimately worked with me after multiple failures was I love you both. And I can get home from anywhere in the world in 24 hours. Now, remember, I was an airline person at that time in management, but I was going to be moving out of country. I was going to be moving to China. And I said, so that's all well and good. But if you want me to help you and I don't have the permission needed to help you, then I'm stuck in a rock between a hard spot. So could it be now that you might be willing for me to be able to come home and help me? And that's when the answer became yes, because they realized that the rubber was hitting the road here and their baby girl was going to be living over 8,000 miles away.
Right.
So that was the time that it actually kind of stuck a little bit. And I'm so grateful we did, because if we hadn't done those preparatory pieces, I was into year 4 of my my journey in Asia, and my mom and dad both got sick at the same time, and mom had had a second triple bypass, and when I flew home for the surgery, she sailed through it, but my dad was off all day. And when we, that night, I said, tell me when you realized you were off. And he said, you cannot tell your mother, Lenny. And so that confirmed for me. I was hopeful that it was stress, but my Monday morning quarterbacking said, oh my gosh, this is memory impairment. And it was the beginning of Alzheimer's. So I was able to, move back to the US and, kind of help my parents through all of that side and teach my mom all the things that she hadn't wanted to learn and, be there for my dad. But if we had made the updates that we had made at the time, he wouldn't have had mental capacity to make those changes with the Alzheimer's diagnosis. And it would have put mom and I in a world of hurt.
Right.
That's what I mean by living well and then ending well.
No, I get it. And thank you for explaining that too, for those that will hear this later or hearing it now. Really clarifying some things. And something occurred to me, Lynn, and I want to ask this. What about that? You may have talked about it. That person is all by themselves.
That's me.
That's you. Yeah. And
I haven't been married yet.
Haven't been married yet. We have folks that'll hear this that haven't been married yet,
Yeah. It's interesting because we have like trusted partners in crime somehow, some way. And sometimes it's family and sometimes it's not. And I have both on my team. So because but it's somebody that, that's going to stand for you and be there as the kind of your protector, but also somebody that can stand up to everybody else because there tend to be multiple opinions that come into play. And one of the things that makes me the saddest is when things haven't been written out, family members can get kind of funky. And it's real. That's another thing. That's why it's good to live well, because we can explain a lot. But I have made selections of family and non-family to be as a part of my team. And so they are my powers of attorney. So they are there to help me if I can't execute things on my own, but they're also there to clean up all the stuff if I'm not here and when I'm not here any longer. And they tire of me like giving them new updates and ad nauseum. But I have created this big, huge binder with little plastic sheets with like all the copies of my photo IDs and all the copies of my utility bills and all the copies of this stuff because it's a pain to close this stuff out.
Yes.
I mean, I'm the one that's had to do it for so often, and I have a little letter written in the front of thank you so much. This is the crappiest job ever, and I can't believe you guys have said yes to help me. But I'm trying to put this together so that it makes it a little easier for you. And please don't spend more than 45 minutes a day or an hour because it'll drive you nuts, and walk away and know that there's more time to do what you got to do. Take it in its little bites.
That's right.
So I mean, for me to know that I do have those shadows that can help me gives me an incredible sense of relief. And it also tells me that I care enough about them so that they're prepared.
Yeah, there you go. That's
it's one of my parting gifts.
That is truly a gift too. I mean, just man. Someone was saying we are never alone in the chats, and thanks for sharing. So this has been really great.
No, thank you. And I promise I'll read all the chat when I put my cheaters back on. There was too much glare, you guys, and I have my 1.25. So I didn't want to blind you by the light. Shining light into the dark.
You can wear your glasses if you like. It's easy going, easy peasy on Conversations with Geoff. So listen. Any parting words? I mean, we're winding down now. What in a minute or so? What can you tell people that we haven't already touched on?
Believe in yourself and don't be scared. And don't be mad at yourself if you haven't taken things into your hands at this point. Over 63% of Americans haven't. And so you are not alone. I am just on the mission to advocate and educate people as well as I can so that we at least are aware of what's at risk and what's to gain. And that's the piece where I want you to feel comfortable in asking questions so that you know that you can get information and feel a little more confident and empowered. Because I see this as a true empowerment journey of saying, all right, dang it. I don't want somebody making those decisions for me. What do I want?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, why have the court decide when you can? That's the way I look at it. I mean, I want to give the direction to them because this is the way I want to live. And I don't want attorneys battling it out with freezing my assets and, getting paid. I mean, I understand why they're paid, but I don't want that isn't how I want my money leaving at the end. So I want to do a little upfront investment and make sure that I'm the one that's setting the terms.
Right.
We can control what we can control and then allow what we can't control to just happen because business and life do intersect. I mean, life and stuff happens. So, okay, not sure when, but it isn't an if, it is a when.
Yeah, it is. Isn't it? Wow, isn't that the truth? Right, and I'm listening to you. And I'm thinking the whole time, man, is that how gracious those folks that are on the other side when you're gone, that you're taking care of all of that. I just keep bringing that up because it's so. Listen to, ladies and gentlemen. Don't reach out to this lady. Make sure you get in touch. Get prepared now. Take advantage of her desire to help and serve you. So get her information and start the conversation now.
Yeah. Thank you, Geoff.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And you guys, I promise I'll look through the comments because if you have anything that you have a question-wise, I'll follow up.
Yeah, and I tried not to read them because it was there, and there'll be more later. But thank you, Lynn.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I know it's not the easiest topic, so you guys take a deep breath. Yeah. Let it out, and when you're ready, you're going to be ready.
Yeah. Wow. You got so many great things to say. When you're ready, you're going to be ready. I'm still in the mall, right?
You may just make sure give an attribution.
I will.
My crazy friend Lynn.
For the first 3 times, and then smile after that, right?
I'll remember that. Thank you so much, Geoff.
You're welcome, Lynn. You take care. And as you come in later on, make sure you share some love with her. Lynn, thank you, and we'll be in touch soon.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Man, I got to tell you, what a way to make a difficult conversation easy peasy. I mean, almost makes it sound sexy in some respects. And that's a gift, right? And so I really just, we wanted to bring her in and then kind of shake up our message a little bit because, hey, look, it's a real thing. And with COVID and all those things happening, it's super important to take a look at that. And she's someone that I would encourage everybody to have a conversation with, right? So thank everybody for participating. If you hear this later, go back through the chat and get all the information on our guest speaker today. And remember, it's hey, Stacey, thank you for showing up. Very informative, great information. Some of the things in the chat, we're never alone. So I just, breathe, as she said. And remember what we talked about earlier about the TV and the transformational vocabulary that you're having with yourself. Take it away, right? Take it away. Change how you talk to yourself. Change how you see yourself. Make a difference in your life. And do that one more thing, right? You never know when it's the last opportunity you have. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to say, always remember that, nothing's promised. So when you see your grandbabies, you squeeze them until you can't stop squeezing. You see someone you haven't seen in a while, you squeeze them until you can't stop squeezing, right? If you feel somebody that you walk by, you don't know, but they look them in the eye and smile. That might be the only smile they get, right? And so anyhow, just to wrap up, my information is in the chat, in terms of the real estate piece and how you can get in touch with me. We do have something planned to shift gears on you, just to wrap things up. Going into the month of June, we're in terms of investor training, real estate investor training, we're really looking at introducing a program for that male professional that's 40 to 55 years old, professional entrepreneur who has an interest in building the real estate investing business, that's married, that had a financial setback, and their wife has been carrying the load for them, and they really want to get involved in real estate. They're looking for someone that can take them through the simple steps to grow and start their business and change their financial situation, because that's kind of how my journey was. So anyway, appreciate everyone showing up today, and remember, make the call to Lynn. Don't wait, don't hesitate, and we'll see you all soon. Take care, share this, subscribe, and have a great day. Bye-bye.